Jersey's own Zach Gelb.
Or maybe it's Pennsylvania. Anyhow, it's one of the two, I'm pretty sure.
The Zach Gelb Show continues
On Fox Sports 920, The Jersey.
4:43 for the Princeton Orthopedic Associates Studio, Zach Gelb Show. Big Temple show today. New head football coach Jeff Collins. We just talked to the old football coach and Matt Rule. Sorry to keep this guy waiting because I know his time is very busy. And that is the great Kyle Gauss of OwlScoop, who joins us right now, has been all over this Temple coaching search, and I'm sure he has a lot of good statistics for us about the new head football coach at Temple University, and that is Jeff Collins. Kyle, appreciate a few minutes. How are you?
I'm good, Zach. How are you?
Well, thank you for coming on. I'm doing great today. New football coach. News broke this morning. It's Jeff Collins. Reaction from Kyle Gauss when he heard the news.
A little bit of shock, to be honest. I kind of put this on Twitter earlier. Compared to, I guess this is my third coaching search. This one was more tight-lipped than any of the ones I've dealt with before. I had 4 different articles for 4 different candidates ready to post, none of which were Jeff Collins until this morning. So it was exciting, it's interesting, and it seems on paper like it's a pretty good hire.
Can you tell us who the other candidates were that you had those hot takes getting ready to go to publish to the rest of the world?
I don't know if I'd call them hot takes, but pretty much all the names everybody else is hearing. Casey Keeler, John DeFilippio, Danny Rocco, a little bit on Bobby Wilder. Towards the end, I went to sleep last night honestly kind of feeling in my gut like it might be Casey Keeler. So this morning I put a lot more work down the Delaware, Sam Houston State rabbit hole than I would have liked to admit.
So you did hear a lot of these FCS rumors, and then amongst the Temple fan base, there was that sense of panic for some. How can you go from winning the American to then hiring an FCS coach? Do you think they were ever close to hiring an FCS coach?
No, to be honest. Now in hindsight, now that Jeff Collins gone out there and kind of talked about some of the other candidates that, speaking to some sources that did actually interview, I don't think they were ever really considering FCS coaches. I think a lot of that comes down to, and this isn't a jab at any of those coaches, I think a lot of the times you'll see agents float those names out so that way they get maybe a better contract with the school they're in. Bobby Wilder, coincidentally, is going to be signing a new contract with Old Dominion. The coach, Rocco, that just went to Delaware, might have gotten another boost from Delaware. They kind of get leaked out there on purpose. There's so many hands in these pots that, in hindsight, no, I don't think that they were ever really considering that option.
And it's funny how these things do end up working out, because you see the old football coach, Matt Rule, who's now at Baylor. He has a connection, 2 connections actually, with Jeff Collins, working with him at Albright and Western Carolina. I know Matt was just on with us, and the Matt Rule camp thinks very positively of this hire. They call it a home run hire. How about that Rule connection, and do you think it actually played a factor in the hire? I know you don't just hire a coach because he's familiar with the old coach, but you know that amicable relationship that Pat Kraft and Matt Rule did have.
Yeah, I think it factored in a little bit. Maybe not officially, like you say. I don't think Matt Rule was calling up Pat Kraft saying, hey, you got to look at Jeff Collins. A side note, that Albright team better have gone undefeated if they had 2 future Division I coaches on it. But, yeah, I think it was more just the familiarity, right? I mean, Pat Kraft and Matt Rule, beyond just being coach and athletic director, were genuinely friends. They enjoyed each other's company. So I think just being able to find somebody that reminds you of Rule probably factored into Pat's decision, and the fact that he comes from one of the more storied programs in the country, and he has a lot of the characteristics that Rule presented, but he has a lot more success behind his name than Rule had when he first got the job.
Kyle Gauss with us right now from OwlScoop on the Zach Gelb Show. The one thing that jumps out to me about this hire, you try to think, all right, what are the ties? And with his wife, I know that she has family that is from Delaware. What other ties do you hear about the new head football coach and Jeff Collins to this area?
Yeah, I think those are kind of if you needed to put a negative to this, that might actually be one of the negatives, right? Is he has some connections via his wife, the fact that he coached at Fordham, the fact that he coached at Albright with Rule back in the 90s. But outside of that, I mean, he's been in SEC country for 10 years now. He was with Alabama. He was with Mississippi State. He ventured to the ACC with Georgia Tech. So I think that's going to be kind of one of his main challenges is Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, Maryland, they're not as parochial as Texas, but it's still, you're not going to be able to just walk into a Timber Creek and expect to just instantly get every kid you want. You need to build those relationships, which is something that Rule staff really succeeded at over the years, which is why I don't know if we're going to get into this later, which is why I think it's kind of paramount that you keep somebody like an Ed Foley, or you make an effort to have some continuity from that previous staff, because for the short time that he was here, and he did take the team to the first bowl win in the program's history, Steve Adazio kind of burnt some of those bridges a little bit. He relied heavy on other areas that Temple needed to rebuild once Rule came in.
Can you see Glenn Thomas sticking around, or is he going to Baylor?
I think there might be an option C to that, right? I mean, I kind of was talking to my buddy and your buddy, John DeCarlo, before this, saying, I wonder if there's any idea floated of keeping the offensive staff. I mean, it is a staff that put together a record season for Temple. They're going to set the all-time mark in passing yards and points and pretty much everything non-rushing related. They put up some good numbers against some teams this year, so I'm wondering if there is any continuity of that. All that being said, Jeff Collins has been in this game for a long time. He's been on a bunch of different staffs. It would not surprise me if he came into this, if he wanted to put his own touch on it. I think Ed Foley's a lot more likely to stay than a Glenn Thomas, who might just be coaching elsewhere. He might go back to the NFL after this.
Clearly, there's more dominoes to fall as we're talking about, and you take a look at this program right now. Matt Rule left it in a very good spot, like you're talking about, those positive recruiting relations, and we'll see if they improve and get even better under Jeff Collins. And also the program, just the success the last 2 years, they've been in the top 25. We saw College Game Day come to Philly last year. They beat Penn State for the first time in 74 years. And then, oh yeah, by the way, they win an AAC championship this year. Evaluate the state of the program for me right now as they get ready to introduce a new head coach tomorrow morning.
My knee-jerk reaction would be solid foundation. It's in a lot better shape than it's been in recent years. Well, you're going to have to – the one thing Collins also has to deal with is he's replacing a 4-year starter at quarterback. He's replacing one of the more dynamic running backs they've ever had. He's replacing a potential future first-round pick at left tackle. So there's going to be a lot of question marks that he has to deal with. But even if Rule had stayed, he still had to deal with those same questions. I think there's a lot of depth on this team. I think there's more depth on in the wide receiver position than there's ever been. I think you look at the defensive side of the ball, which is going to have to be the moneymaker of the team next year. You look at the defensive side of the ball, you see a lot of guys that you can easily peg to step up. Like, okay, you're replacing all 3 linebackers, but you have guys like Chappelle Russell, you have guys like Sean Bradley, Jared Folks that have all played that you can kind of say, okay, this guy's just going to take a bigger role next year. So I think they're in good shape. I think Collins is walking into a situation where talent-wise it's there. Another thing he has working against him, though, is the schedule. I mean, you open up at Notre Dame. You're having a lot of teams that you've avoided in the regular season. Navy, Houston, you'll be playing next year. You'll be playing some of the teams that are going to be rebounds. They're going to be on the road. At East Carolina, UCF comes to Temple, but they should be a lot better. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's in good shape. I don't think it's a rebuild by any stretch of the imagination. All that being said, I don't know if they go 11-4 next year or 11-3 next year, but it's in decent shape.
And you know what's funny that you bring up Notre Dame? Was it Matt's first head coaching day, first game? Wasn't that against Notre Dame too?
Yeah, it was. And Connor Riley, who had never taken a snap, started as a redshirt junior at quarterback.
The Jim Cooper Jr. game. Remember those missed kicks?
Yeah. I think he's at Wagner now. I think he's doing pretty well for himself.
All right. Well, that's good to hear. Kyle Gauss wrapping up with him right now from OwlScoop. Quickly, give me your thoughts on Wake Forest for the bowl game coming up.
Yeah, I guess my only concern if I was a Temple fan with the Wake Forest game would be the fact that from everything I've been hearing, and Ed Foley even talked about today, is there have been no members of the Temple defensive staff really there for the past week. Phil Snow was on the West Coast dealing with some things with his father. Mike Tarabo and Francis Brown are already down in Waco. I'd be a little concerned about that just because you basically had GAs coaching the defense for the last week. But that being said, they really haven't started preparing for Wake. I think Wake's a team that, when you look back at it, they started off 5-1 and then they finished 6-6. They've been trending the wrong way. It was still a successful year for them just because they are going back to full eligibility. But it's a game that, if Rule was still here, you would expect Temple to win pretty soundly. The wrinkle thrown into it of a gutted coaching staff that won't be making a reappearance at Edward Olson until later this week or next week or maybe even the week of the bowl game. That kind of adds a wrinkle to it, but I would still expect it to be a pretty decent win for Temple.
Now, Kyle, as you know, I call you the stat lord because no one gets better Stemple statistics than Kyle Gauss of OwlScoop. Before we let you run, I know that you're digging, and I know that Excel sheet's probably getting a lot of saves to it today. Is there any crazy stat that you have or any interesting nugget that you have about Jeff Collins?
Yeah, I mean, I've been focusing a little bit more just on the last 4 years. He had 2 years with Florida as defensive coordinator, and 2 years at Mississippi State, and I'm kind of ignoring the co-defensive coordinator years before that. Nothing too crazy. It's just it kind of anecdotally. Remember last year, heading into the 2015 season, Elijah Robinson and Phil Snow and Matt Rule had the goal of we want 40 sacks this year. That was their whole thing. And they got 10 sacks the first game against Hackenberg, and then they kind of stumbled down the year and get closer to 40. 40 is kind of the magical number for Jeff Collins, too. He did 40 last year for Florida State. As his Florida State team, they were a lot better than they gave him credit for. That was kind of a rebuilding project for Florida, and he held a 10-3 Georgia team to 3 points, which is a staggering number. So he had 40 that year. In 2014 with Mississippi State, he had 37. I know, just speaking to kind of guys off the record and even on the record, the defensive linemen love this guy. Alex McAllister with the Eagles, absolutely. He called him my dude. I think that he absolutely loves Jeff Collins. Fletcher Cox loves Jeff Collins. The one thing I'm kind of looking forward to is seeing his recruiting style. It's just, I mean, there've literally been articles written about Jeff Collins' recruiting style, about how he used to hand draw recruiting letters and send them to recruits, and then when he would show up for home visits, he used the phrase, it was almost like I wallpapered their house. He would walk in, you'd see all these different hand-drawn Jeff Collins pictures, one of which had a soda can that wrote swag on it. He said, come get you some swag down in Starkville. I got a case of it. So he's an interesting guy. I've yet to meet him. He seems like a very personable guy, almost kind of like a combination of Rule and Fran Dumpy, in that he can be a little dry, but legitimately a funny guy. Looking forward to meeting him. It should be an interesting time.
Expect new wallpaper when you guys get ready for the scoop coming up this weekend, because I'm telling you, it seems like this guy who is a bunch of mayhem coming and all that with Jeff Collins is the right hire for Temple University. Kyle, before we let you run, tell us where the people listening can follow you on Twitter and where they can read you.
You can follow me on Twitter at Kyle Gauss, KYLEGAUSS. I lucked into that because there's so many Kyle Gausses in the world. Other than that, you can follow John and I at OwlScoop_com, and you can see us at OwlScoop.com.
Kyle, appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Have a good one, Zach.
You too. There he is, Kyle Gauss of OwlScoop, the Minister of Mayhem. Love it. Jeff Collins, new head football coach of Temple University. Okay, we'll take a break. We're getting close to the top of the hour. Time right now in the Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios, 4:56. When we get back, we got to get to our highly anticipated but always great Check or X segment. We'll do that next on the Zach Gelb Show.